Good evening and welcome. This is English Talks.
Hello everyone, this is Samah Assiya. I am a student of public policy pursuing my master's in OP Jindal Global University. As the 77th Republic Day approaches us this January 26th, we have Mr. VINAY Kumar of Reclaim Constitution, which is a group that tries to build a constitutional culture. Mr. Vinay, tell us something about Reclaim Constitution, please.
Reclaim Constitution started as a hashtag to understand our Constitution better and particularly the making of our Constitution. And through the journey, we have realized that the Constitution was not built in a silo, but ordinary publics participated from across the country in petitioning the Constituent Assembly and in trying to influence the makers of our Constitution. So it has always been a people's Constitution, and only in the recent past have we come across some fantastic archival material that throws new light on this.
So, as a young person in India, why do you think the Constitution should matter to me and how can I utilize it to my best?
Well, the Constitution is very important and it matters to all of us because it shapes our everyday life, it shapes our freedoms and also the future opportunities. Firstly, it guarantees the rights such as right to equality, right to free speech, right to practice your belief, and to dignity. More importantly, it protects us from arbitrary power. Apart from this, the Constitution explains how the governments are chosen and how we ought to hold governments accountable. For young people, the Constitution should be a tool to question injustice, demand fair treatment, and participate meaningfully in democracy. So, knowing the Constitution will help us move from being just a passive citizen to an informed citizen who can shape the future of this country.
Since you mentioned arbitrary power, as a young person, since I'm someone who goes to college or someone who has freshly started a new internship or a job, how do you think that affects me? Because it's not a problem that I face on a daily basis, right?
I think as students, most of us are insulated because of the academic environment, but sooner or later you will be stepping into the real world when you will get on to your first job. There is injustice all over across the world and even in our society. We may not face it, but when we see injustice happening around us, be it in an examination, a job, or even a job application process, or it could be various other things, even injustice on the streets. So are we equipped to tackle it? And are we empathetic enough to speak up against injustice even if it is not happening directly to us? In the wise words of Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we do not tackle injustice today because it is not happening to us, tomorrow we will not have anyone to be with us when we face injustice. So I think that is where it is very important for us to be prepared in understanding how this Constitution is a living promise which protects us when we go out there into the real world.
So this Constitution being the living promise it is, guarantees our rights and freedoms. So does this also mean I have to perform my fundamental duties to access the fundamental rights, or is it just given to me regardless?
Fundamental rights are firstly to be exercised responsibly. You can practice your beliefs and you seek for equality, and whenever your rights are violated, whether it is your own rights or the rights of people around us, we are empowered by the Constitution to question authority. The Constitution is what gives us the courage to challenge authority, whether it is through courts or through peaceful demonstrations where people have fought and persisted in protecting their rights. But it doesn't mean that one has to perform a duty to be able to assert your right. So fundamental duties are not legally enforceable, but they are essential. They remind us to respect the Constitution, promote harmony, protect values. So if you want to compare rights and duties, rights make us free, but duty makes that freedom meaningful and sustainable in a diverse country like India.
We are a generation that is being called Gen Alpha, Gen Z, the older generation, or what we would like to call as the boomer generation would say is we have to be more informed. But What does being more informed mean? What actions does it entail to become an informed, a proactive, and a responsible citizen in a country like India?
To be a proactive citizen, the first thing is to understand the Constitution. And by understanding the Constitution, I don't mean knowing what is Article 15, Article 21 verbatim. No, that is not what is demanded of an ordinary citizen. I think we can begin by just simply understanding the preamble and the spirit of the preamble. So the preamble, in the words of Professor Upendra Bakshi, one of the foremost scholars of Indian constitutional law, he says, entire constitutional law of India is a massive footnote to the preamble. So that is the importance he ascribes to the preamble. I think preamble is in essence the soul of our constitution, and it's easy, it's accessible to most people, and we can simply begin by learning more about what each of those words mean, or even people interested in how those words came about will be fascinated to know the story, the struggles that went into achieving that. If we are equipped to use the Constitution, engage with it every day, the starting point would be to exercise your vote and ensure you vote regularly. But again, democracy is not defined by just voting once in 5 years. We can engage with the Constitution through discussion, through civic groups, and holding our representatives accountable by asking questions, even if it is through RTIs or following public policy debates, parliamentary debates. Of late, we have seen with the explosion of content on the internet, there is also the challenge of misinformation. So, active citizenship is not only just understanding yourself. Today, it begs us to also dispel misinformation, which can cause harm to society. So, all in all, I would say it should be driven by our curiosity and understanding. I again will go back to the preamble, the first 3 words of the preamble, we the people of India. And our constitution begins with the words, we the people of India. If we are able to internalize that this constitution first belongs to me, I think automatically we will know what we have to do.
So that is some food for thought for young people like us. Now that Republic Day is approaching and you are also one of the organizers of the nationwide quiz that is happening on Jan 26, would you like to share some unknown facts about the making of the Constitution or Republic Day itself?
Let's begin with Republic Day. If you look at the preamble of the Constitution, the date mentioned there is 26 November 1949. In essence, the preamble ends with the lines that we hereby give to ourselves this Constitution on the date 26 November 1949. But why then do we celebrate Republic Day on 26 Jan? It has a deeper significance. 26 January is very special in the history of India because it was in a session in 1930 where the first declaration for Purna Swaraj or complete independence was called by Pandit Nehru. And ever since, 26 Jan has been celebrated to commemorate the first call for complete independence from the British. And since the date was very close to the hearts of all the freedom fighters, and even before 1947, 26 Jan used to be the day when was called Independence Day. In order to mark that, the makers of our constitution decided that although the constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949, it completely came into effect on 26 Jan 1950 in order to commemorate Purna Swaraj. So that is a lesser known fact. And what also is very fascinating is the making of our constitution itself, which eventually led to Republic Day. If you look at all the constitutions that were being made post World War II, India is very, very special because it was the first constitution after World War where on day one, we had universal adult suffrage. So all people were treated equally, and from 26 Jan 1950, everybody could vote. Men, women, all adults equally. Many progressive democracies at that point still did not have universal adult suffrage. Women could not vote. And another fascinating part of our constitution is there were 15 women who were part of the Constituent Assembly, which is the group of constitution makers who debated for close to 3 years from 1946 to 1949. So if you look at all the other constitutions across the world that were being made around that time, no other Constituent Assembly had any women. And if you look at the diversity of the people who made this constitution, not just gender diversity, even representations from all sections of the society, that makes our constitution very special. And no wonder it has remained a very strong constitution. And it is the only constitution made after World War II which has not been challenged or has not suffered unconstitutional military takeover. So it is the longest living constitution in the modern world. So thinking about these facts gives me goosebumps to just understand what a privilege it has been to be in this country when there were many other countries being formed around the same time who still don't enjoy the kind of freedoms that we do. So I hope with this understanding of the freedoms that we enjoy, we will cherish it and nurture it with more responsibility.
So this makes us feel like we are a country that was born empowered, but yet are lacking somewhere in capturing that power. We have our struggles every day as an average Indian citizen. Especially as a young person, it becomes difficult to, let's say, live up to the potential that we could. So if we want to live up to our potential in this country, utilizing the power that the Constitution gives us, how can we do that?
I would say the people of 1947, if you can imagine, we were largely an illiterate country then, and yet they participated in greater numbers in democratic processes and in trying to influence the constitution makers to give us a strong constitution. The participation in democracy at that early stage, it just boggles my mind. But then if you look at what is happening now, there seems to be that disconnect for sure. One of the reasons I see is that the youth are far removed from the freedom struggle. So I was fortunate to have my physics teacher who was a freedom fighter, but the younger generation may not ever get a chance to see a freedom fighter. So now there is that gap in connecting to the birth of this country and connecting to those struggles. I think it is a responsibility to carry forward that baton of that struggles from the early days of the Republic. Today, every issue we see around us can be tackled by simple understanding of the Constitution. So if we can make efforts to firstly understand and even spread the word, I think we can bring about change, whether it is in protecting our climate or solving issues of jobs or education. All of these are connected to the Constitution, and just a little more curiosity will help us address these issues.
Thank you so much, Vinay. I hope this inspires all young people to buy a constitution and read the preamble today, maybe.
All right. Thank you, Samah.
This program was brought to you by Akashvani, Bengaluru.